It's October 26, 2021. Thank you for joining us on the brightest breakfast show in the continent. I am Oluchi Enobong, and this is Breakfast Central.
My name is Hanson, and we are Africa First. Get the latest stories from Africa as we take you through the front pages of the newspapers, the top stories and more. But first, here are the headlines. Nigeria launches Africa's first digital currency. That will be one story you shouldn't miss.
Do not declare bandits as terrorists, coming from the Clerk Gumi himself.
Death toll rises to 120 in army and allied forces fight in Somalia.
And in Sudan, African Union calls for immediate dialogue on that.
We'll also bring to you the latest trends online. Wherever you will find them, we'll bring them to you right here on Breakfast Central.
News Central, I congratulate you.
News, business, sports, music. Good luck, News Central.
Hearty congrats to News Central.
It's all about perception. News Central, congratulations.
Congratulations, News Central.
News Central, I congratulate you.
News Central Africa, congratulations and welcome to Africa.
Congratulations to News Central. More reporting on Africa from different angles.
The organization will grow by leap and bound.
And I would like to congratulate News Central.
Africa is rising. Again, we hear our sounds echo on the other side. Afrobeat and Afropop reinvented, hip life brought back to life, new energy infused into Kwaito and Kwela. Africa is balling. Every stroke, every shot, every raise, we find our place at the top. Taking the helm of real power, new hopes for democracies. A breed of entrepreneurial tigers, audacious storytellers, and a promising generation raring to go. Truly, Africa is rising. And this is where the stories that define our continent live.
I am Tokwe Tadila. I am an actor.
I'm Muhalima Shekho. I'm a writer.
I'm an author, researcher.
Nadia Korafor, and I'm a writer.
I am a linguist and a writer.
Mona Al-Tahawi. I'm an Egyptian-American feminist author, revolutionary and activist.
Onias Landveld. I'm a spoken word artist.
Tanya Evanson. I'm a poet, performer, producer, arts educator, and director of the Banff Center Spoken Word Program.
To be young, Anit Africa, and I am a Jamaican born and raised dub poet.
Keep watching News Central TV.
News Central.
News Central TV.
News Central.
Keep watching News Central TV. Africa First.
Africa First.
Africa First.
Africa First.
Africa First.
As we bring to you the top stories and the front pages of the papers, you can find a number right there on the screen. So go ahead and start chatting. Start sending in your messages. So let's quickly tell you what's on the front pages of the papers right away.
And we start with the Daily Trust in Nigeria this morning. The Daily Trust talks about the e-naira. Buhari launches e-naira, says GDP to rise by 11.9 trillion naira. The writer also talks about 33 banks running e-currency as CBN mints 500 million naira. Also, what you need to know about the e-naira. You can get that on page 5 of the Daily Trust this morning. You can see that picture there. That's the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo with President Muhammadu Buhari, as well as the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, during the unveiling of the Central Bank digital currency, e-naira, in Abuja just yesterday. You can see all of that and get more information from page 5 of the Daily Trust this morning. Also on page 10 and 12, NLC rejects compulsory Covid-19 vaccination. That's on page 12 and 10 of the Daily Trust. And the very last one here talks about Northern Coalition asks court to exit Southeast from Nigeria. Wow, that's on page 10 from the Daily Trust in Nigeria.
All right, away from Nigeria now, let's go straight to Liberia. It is the front page of the paper, the front page. All right, so we'll start off first with the big story there. It says, How where outsmarted the educated. Ongoing opposition brouhaha mirrors striking similarities that led to 2017 alliance collapse. You want to check out that story. Of course, don't forget that George Weah indeed is the president, and how he outsmarted the educated. It's something you might want to learn from. But let's also see another story there at the front page. Former Liberian president takes government to ECOWAS court. Taylor wants his pension. Pay me my pension. The act, according to the suit, relates to the retirement pension of the president and vice president of Liberia, the speaker and deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, the president pro tempore of the Liberian Senate, and members of the Liberian legislature, the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of Liberia. So that's another story you might want to check out. It's there in the front page. Well, you could also go to health page 8, silent killer cancer, still a taboo in Liberia. You'll find that story on page 6, I beg your pardon. Yes, that's the story there. And also on page 7, illegal swamp dwellers suffer a pa's wrath. I wonder what that really is, but it's something you should take a look at. Apparently, it's talking about the swamp dwellers and the latest a decision that's ongoing over there where there are destructions and they're ensuring that everybody must evacuate the space. So you want to take note of where it's happening. But that's all I can bring to you from the front page. Yeah, on the front page from Liberia.
Moving from Liberia to Uganda, it's all about the Daily Monitor this morning. And the Daily Monitor has on page 29, Sudan's military seized power in coup. Now you can also see this picture here of different faces. They're its leaders from the terrorist group. Now it says, the writer here says, the hierarchy of the group in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Museveni condemns act to crack down ADF top brass and its terror network. That's what it says here. Now you can see the pictures here and the designation. You see some of them. We have one that is an army commander. You have one who is a political commissar. You also have one whose name is as it is in a social media handle. These and more you can get from page 4 and 5 from the Daily Monitor this morning. Also on page 3, explosion in bus kills 1, injures many others. A very sad story, but you can get more on that from page 3 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda.
All right, away from the Daily Monitor, let's go to the Daily Nation as well. And the front picture there and the header says, Ruto pulls a fast one on parties. Secret card. Deputy President has yielded to demand for autonomy by smaller outfits that won't disband to join UDA, but he could have the last laugh. You want to take a look at that story. It's all about the promises or pacts with coalition partners before the 2022 elections, and I'm sure that you equally have been following that. News Central has been bringing you updates on that, especially here on Breakfast too. We've been telling you about the elections. But let's go straight to another story you find on the front page. Coup. Sudan general overthrows the government. We'll talk more on that story. We have something coming from the top stories as well. We'll take a look at that. Lobby accuses intelligence of harassing judges. Page 9. Take a look at that. How Wanjiru was betrayed. New evidence shows that the British Army covered up the matter until the suspected killers left the country, while Kenyan authorities delayed and blocked investigations to the foreign soldiers. That's page 10. You find that story there. It's a sad death of a young and promising lady, and how the story has continued to trail, how it was covered. You find every detail on page 10. So that's all we have for you on the front pages. Don't forget to check them out online as well. You could go to our Instagram handle. You'll find the handle on the screen in between, and make sure that you check the headlines out. But away from the front pages of the newspapers, it's now time to bring to you our top stories for today.
And we we start our top stories in West Africa, Nigeria, where Kaduna-based Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi has warned the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government against declaring bandits terrorists. Now, Gumi warned that Nigeria would stop existing as a sovereign and united entity if the federal government declared bandits as terrorists.
The Islamic cleric allegedly disclosed this in a Facebook post on Sunday night. He, however, admitted that the devastation caused by bandits in the northwest amounted to terrorism. Gumi stressed that despite the devastation, proscribing bandits would lead to severe consequences that will consume the entire country.
Now let's see a summary of what the Islamic cleric says. And from what he has come out to say, the acts the bandits are committing now in Northwest have gradually over time become tantamount to terrorism because whoever or wherever innocent people are, I beg your pardon, let me repeat that. The acts the bandits are committing now in Northwest have gradually over time become tantamount to terrorism because wherever innocent people are a fatal victim, it becomes pure terrorism.
Well, aside that, he also went ahead to mention that this will give criminality a spiritual cover and remove the stigma of discrediting them with such crimes, since now they are fighting a jihad, as they claim. Now, these are not just all. He also went ahead to say Northeast is already and is still devastated by this madness for over 12 years. And that's exactly what he said. Now, he also went ahead to make mention that if we allow terror to set into these raw, naive, unexposed bandits, especially in the Northwest, it will become a bigger problem. And that's exactly what he made a mention of. Well, anyway, let's quickly tell you that we have joining us this morning on Breakfast Central looking at this top story is lawyer and public affairs analyst, Barrister Tony Ehilebo. Welcome to Breakfast Central and thank you for joining us. What message can you make out of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi's statement to the federal government and also to Nigerians? Okay, all right. So we're expecting Barrister Tony Ehilebo to join us. Please do well to unmute yourself if you can. Oluchi, we just saw a statement made by Sheikh Gumi. This statement has gone ahead to spark a lot of... Good morning to you. Thank you so much. Finally, technology has found its way into your hands. All right, so I asked earlier...
and just by a little bit of education, I'm not Barrister Anthony Ehilebo. I'm Anthony Ehilebo Esquire, if you choose to add that.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. All right.
Make a lot of use of that terminology. But yes, thank you for having me once again.
It's a pleasure.
It is interesting that we're at a place where people make random comments. I know that this cleric has a huge following in Nigeria, but has this not been the bane of our problems? That we are unable to hold people accountable for comments, for associations that they have. People who kidnap people, people who kill people randomly, who ransack villages. The only thing is that they don't have a political ideology, but they're similar to terrorists. They blew up a train track. I mean, what else are we waiting for to designate these people in the right frame and context so the military and security agencies can go after them in such a light? How much did IPOB have to do before they were designated terrorists? We're very close to a point where they will designate Sunday Igboho a terrorist. I mean, we have to come to terms with and accept what the problems we have are. And the fact that it feels as if, unfortunately, the federal government is monocoddling this set of individuals who have wreaked so much havoc, even on the president's home state, Katsina. To the extent that the government of the state has had to tell the telecom companies to shut down telecom communications and take them back into the Stone Age, where they are now in a Hobbesian state of nature, where everything is nasty, brutish, and short. Life is short. That's what you experience now in states like Zamfara, Katsina, the major northwest states are experiencing this. Just a few states in the northwest are free from this sort of criminal enterprise, if you put it that way. Kano State, for instance, has been able to insulate itself. But there's no gainsaying that it is also a fertile ground, and it presents the economic opportunities to those who are far less privileged and do not have such economic empowerment or scenarios to cater for themselves.
All right. Tony, now, I mean, the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, that's the HURIWA, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to immediately arrest the controversial Islamic cleric for allegedly saying that declaring bandits as terrorists will lead to the end of Nigeria. Now, should this be considered, Tony?
Well, you see, when you've allowed a sort of a character to become a demigod, you then have a problem as a government going after such a character. But I'll ask this question, and this leads to the scenario that the Attorney General tried to explain over the weekend and did a poor job of doing so. There are far less criminally minded people in other parts of the country that the government goes after with such a high hand. But in reverse, when you look at inversely, you look at the situation in the Northwest, the government seems to just hardly even make comments about it. You hardly hear the presidency come out and condemn it as quickly as they do in other parts of the country. Is it because the president is from the Northwest? So, I mean, you can't have a gangrene in your leg and you're pointing at someone else's arm or something to tell the person that, look, you have a gangrene, you may need to amputate your leg or your arm. Whereas you have a far worse problem just in your backyard. The long-term consequences of this is that it's the people who will live after whoever is president today has expired. In the next 10, 20 years, we'll start to feel the consequences of these actions of these people. I have had to live in countries where I've cohabited with people who are from probably Sierra Leone, Liberia, where they've had long conflicts in their country. Now, these people get to 1821 when they were born into this conflict and they leave it. And you find you have an age of people who are uneducated, unable to face the society. So it becomes a vicious cycle. And they'll have to go back to these crimes, go back to these sort of acts in a new dimension. So we need to nip this in the bud. If Uriwa says, arrest this man, and you've been able to arrest Nnamdi Kanu, you have been able to make sure that Sunday Igboho is curtailed in Benin Republic, then you must make efforts to curtail any individual that speaks on the divisiveness. I say Nigeria will end. What does that mean? How will Nigeria end? Because a group of people have chosen to become lords themselves, have taken the way of criminality, and you expect us to continue to monocoddle them? I mean, the statements, I'm wary of making broad statements against clerics of whatever nature, maybe Christian, Muslim, because we revere religion in this country. But have we not seen that religion has been the bane of our problems?
Okay, Tony, is it safe to say that bandits are a better and lesser way to describe the insurgency going on in the Northeast rather than the term terrorists?
I think we're doing ourselves a disservice by calling them bandits. I think we're doing ourselves as a country a huge disservice. We should call them for what they are. And this goes back to a problem I've seen consistently over my short time as a human being existing in Nigeria. We lack consequences, proper consequences for actions people take. For instance, if someone kidnaps people on a level that denotes or connotes terrorism, these guys should be arrested, tried, and sentenced publicly, either to death or to prison. And everybody must see that this is the consequences of for anyone who participates in such an activity or such an endeavor, that it will not end well. And it will act as a deterrent. Unfortunately, we are still calling them bandits when they are not. They have exceeded. And who even coined up that name? They are terrorists. How can you call IPOB a terrorist organization and a set of people are maiming, kidnapping? Let's all label them for what they are. If that's what they're doing, if they've chosen to do that, I don't have a problem. We should name them what exactly they are. They are terrorists. And they deserve no better. And I think people have made about turns. The governor of Kaduna State, at some point, monocordial these guys, even went as far as going on TV and saying, I sent money to them. They are our distant cousins from Mali and whatever. And guess what? 2 years down the line, the man is saying, no, designate, bomb the hell out of them. Go to their forests, wherever they are, and, mass murder them. That's what he's saying.
Thank you so much, Tony Ehilemo. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. You have clearly come out to say declaring them. Thank you so much. You've come out to say declaring them as terrorists is the way to go. But thank you so much for coming on the program once again.
Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so the points are taken, and I'm sure that we'll look forward to get more discussions on this in the course of our programming. But let's leave West Africa now, and let's go straight to the east, Oluchi,
where it has been reported that fighting in Somalia's Galmudug state between the Somali army and its former ally, the Al-Husna wal Jama militia, has killed 120 people over the past 3 days, a senior ASWG official has said.
Well, analysts and residents have expressed fears that the fighting is derailing the former allies from their common efforts to defeat the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab insurgency. At least as we speak, 120 people have died and 600 were injured from the clashes that erupted on Saturday and continued until yesterday in the central state's second largest district of Gurisil. The United Nations, in a statement, said the fighting has displaced at least 100,000 people.
Now, this is a very sad story, but here are a few things you need to know about the ASWJ. Now, the Al-Husna wal Jama militia is a group of moderate Sufi Muslims and has been at the forefront in the fight against Al-Shabaab. Now, the ASWJ has continued to accuse the federal government for failing to end Al-Shabaab insurgency and that security is worsening in Galmudug state.
Well, the government continues to accuse ASWJ of operating without its consent, a claim that the armed group has not denied. Galmudug State Security Minister Ahmed Mwalim Fiki resigned earlier this month, accusing federal officials of refusing his calls not to attack ASWJ. So there you have the updates. It's actually ongoing now in Somalia. It's a sad situation. 120 people dead, displacement here and there, and people are starting to look for where to run to. A lot of problems we can call that, but hopefully we hope that there will be a dialogue, because that's exactly what everyone is calling for at this point in time. We'll move away from that story, away from Somalia now. Let's go straight to another story. A state of emergency is in effect in Sudan following a declaration by the head of the country's sovereign council, General Abdel Fattah Abdelrahman Burhan. Abdelrahman dissolved the Sovereign Council overseeing the transition to civilian rule, as well as the cabinet. And the move comes as the Sudanese military detained some senior government figures, officials, and leading politicians. Let's take a look.
إعلان حالة الطوارئ في جميع أنحاء البلاد. ثانياً التمسك الكامل والالتزام التام بما ورد في الوثيقة الدستورية الفترة الانتقالية للعام 2019 واتفاق سلام السودان الموقع في جوبا في أكتوبر من العام 2020. ثالثاً تعليق العمل بالمواد 11 12 15 16 24 3 71 72 من الوثيقة الدستورية مع الالتزام التام بالاتفاقيات والمواثيق الدولية التي وقعت خلال فترة الحكومة الانتقالية.
Meanwhile, the African Union has released a press statement calling for the immediate resumption of consultations between the military and civilians within the framework of the political and constitutional decree. Also, the United Nations envoy in Sudan, Volker Perthes, has called on the military to release those unlawfully detained following the coup.
Everybody to exercise utmost restraint. I'm calling on the military to release all those that were unlawfully detained today. And I'm asking all stakeholders to return to dialogue and restore the constitutional order, as well as not to put domestic peace and political transition at risk. But what we know is that the army this morning has detained or first put under house arrest Prime Minister Hamdok, and then reportedly brought him and his wife to an unknown destination or unknown location after he reportedly refused to dissolve the government. That had been a demand from the military for a couple of days. I have not seen any of the military leaders today. I guess I will see them in the next couple of days. Today it is very, very difficult to reach anybody since internet and telephone lines are down.
All right, so there you have that story, and it continues to unfold. We'll bring to you more updates on that. But in the meantime, you're still watching Breakfast Central. Let's also tell you that President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria has praised the central bank for creating Africa's first central bank digital currency, e-naira, the very first in Africa, saying the country will reap many benefits from the initiative. At the launch of the currency yesterday, the president said his approval was strengthened by the fact that the CBN has been a leading innovator in the form of money they produce and in the payment services they deploy for efficient transactions.
It is on this basis that I am delighted to officially launch the Central Bank of Nigeria digital currency called the e-naira. And in so doing, we have become the first country in Africa and one of the first in the world to introduce a digital currency to her citizens.
The very first in the world. Now, also, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says 33 Nigerian banks have joined the e-naira platform, and the Apex Bank has minted 500 million naira worth of digital currency, while 200 million naira has been issued to financial institutions, and over 2,000 customers have been onboarded, and 120 merchants have successfully registered on the e-naira platform.
Well, I can say that it's one thing that a lot of Nigerians have been looking forward to. Well, don't forget that this e-naira was supposed to be launched on the 1st of October. Right. But a little sketches here and there, and then it's moved, and it was eventually launched yesterday, which happens to be October 25. Right. And here we are. We can see how the success rate in the space of how many hours. 2,000 customers have been onboarded. 120 merchants have actually successfully registered on the e-naira platform. So that's exactly what we've seen, and it promises to be beneficial to Nigerians, if we want to put it that way.
Now, Joe, I mean, for the benefit of our viewers, let's listen to what the president also said during the unveiling that happened just yesterday.
The adoption of central bank digital currencies and its underlying technology called blockchain can increase Nigeria's GDP by 29 billion United States dollars over the next 10 years. The use of central bank digital currencies can help move away more people and businesses from the informal into the formal sector, thereby creating the tax base of the country.
There we can see the president himself, President Muhammadu Buhari. It
is a good one. This is a first of its kind, not just in Africa, but around the world. Now, also one of the fun facts about the e-naira is you do not need to have a bank account. In fact, it will not be linked to your bank account. Now, there are certain transaction levels where for a minimum amount that is being transferred, you may not require your BVN or your NIN. If you're doing transactions that are 50,000 naira and below, you do not need to have a bank account for that kind of transaction, and you do not need your BVN for that kind of transactions. But for transactions that are higher than that, up to the tune of 1 million naira, at some point your BVN is needed, and at another point your NIN is also required. But Joe, a lot of people have come out to talk about the safety, the credibility of this platform. If it is not linked to your bank account, how can one monitor fraudulent activities? How can you tell where a fraudulent activity is starting from and where it's ending? And
don't forget too that we are still struggling with the fact that we have not been able to create a proper security or secured system that will help us ensure that our ATM cards, our PINs, our numbers, name them, BVNs, even BVNs, are not going to be used easily. Right. by fraudsters when it comes to carrying out fraudulent activities. But digital currency is it's quite interesting for me.
Well, they've come out to say...
Have you been on board?
I haven't been on board, but I plan to. I mean, they have come out to say that this is not cryptocurrency. This is totally different from cryptocurrency. This will not make your money, make the value of naira increase as it were for cryptocurrency. You know how cryptocurrency works, where you invest today and in some month or some week time, your dividend increases. But this is not the case. Now, this is going to be equivalent to the physical naira that you have. So it's not a way to scare people or make people feel disadvantaged if you're using the e-naira or the e-wallet, as it were.
That's right. All right, you can get more information on this later on. But in the meantime, let's break more boundaries right now as we take our time to look at the e-naira. We have Tunji Andrews who's joining us. He is no doubt one person who will be able to tell us some more from the business aspect. Good morning to you, Tunji. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, Tunji, I mean, can we actually say congratulations and welcome to a new way of doing business? This is first of its kind in Africa and in the whole world.
It is the first of its kind in Africa, but the e-yuan precedes it. At least the Chinese government and the Chinese central bank have been able to institute it longer than we have. So the precedent is there. If we should say congratulations, it depends on what you're looking at. It's a big step in many ways, but in practicality, there's really no much difference if you've ever transferred money from one bank to another. It is still naira. It is still moving via the same principles as our NIBS transfers. So I'm still really unclear as the real advantage it has to Nigerians outside, what's the word now, free transactions. But I'm still not seeing the full picture of how it is supposed to, do any of the magical things that a lot of the newspapers have been talking about it doing.
All right, Tunji, for the benefit of our viewers, we've listened to what the president had to say during the unveiling yesterday. Do you agree with what the president said concerning the fact that the e-naira will definitely replace cryptocurrency, especially here in Nigeria?
Okay, so lots of respect for the president, but I think he's been misled because the general factor, one of the most appealing factors of cryptocurrency is that it is decentralized finance, meaning that it is not controlled by one single entity. It is not controlled by a central bank. It is not controlled by a government. It's not controlled by any institution, so to say. The e-naira cannot be further away from that because the e-naira was even unveiled by the central bank in collaboration with the president, meaning it is decentralized. It is decentralized finance. It is centralized finance. So he may see it from the perspective of, hey, this thing, they use it over the internet. They probably use their phone via an app to be able to do it. But honestly, it's very different. There's nothing that is similarly close. There's no comparison in any way to cryptocurrencies. There's absolutely no comparison. The e-naira is the naira. The e-naira follows the principles of the naira. If the naira depreciates, the e-naira will depreciate. If the naira appreciates, the e-naira will appreciate. It is completely different from the principles that guide cryptocurrencies. But I think he also possibly has an aversion, is probably averse to cryptocurrencies and possibly sees this because, of course, like I said earlier, you use your phone, you use it over the internet, so maybe it will replace crypto. But I think maybe he's been misinformed about the differences and the similarities of both entities.
All right. Thank you so much, Tunji Andrews, the founder of Awaba and business analyst. Thank you so much for throwing more light on this topic, e-naira. We look forward to it, and I hope you have come on board, Tunji.
Tunji, have you come on board yet?
Yes, I have the app. It's decent. It's decent.
Fantastic. Thank you once again.
Good to hear that from you. We look forward to have you again soon, Tunji, so we could further break down more facts on the e-naira.
Thank you.
All right, let's quickly bring you a recap of our stories that we've brought to you so far here on Breakfast Central. We told you about Africa's first digital currency launched in Nigeria.
And we also told you how Gumi has warned the federal government, do not declare bandits as terrorists.
Not forgetting too, Sudan coup, AU calls for immediate dialogue.
All right, coming up next on the program, we'll bring you the latest trend on the social media space.
Also, new season of the Egyptian Premier League kicks off. You want to know everything about it in sports, plus programs to watch on News Central later today.
Many thanks for watching. This is Breakfast Central. Now we have Elizabeth Musa on standby to give us the latest trending stories on the World Wide Web, especially on social media platforms. Good morning, Lizzie. What is trending?
Good morning, Oluchi. How are you?
Fantastic.
Okay, great. So I'm going straight to start straight in Nigeria, where following the recent incidents that led to the castigation of Africa's biggest female act, yes, Tiwa Savage, many of our fans are worried about the recent post she made some 15 to 20 hours ago. Now, Tiwa earlier in a radio interview had spoken about being involved in a sexual encounter with a supposed lover who taped this event and was using it to blackmail her. Now, she made comments about receiving threats to pay up or this video will be released. However, this video has now circulated somewhat on the internet, and following this, Tiwa has now received tons of advice and backlash from members of the public, politicians, celebrities, and regular internet users. Now, just a few hours ago, she posted this message that you're about to see on your screen, which many people believe might be a result of depression followed by the recent events, or perhaps maybe emotional blackmail. Now, that's the post you can see there on your screen, where she says, "I was sad at the passing of my dad at 44, but at least they are no longer in this cruel place. Now, some people will be happy when I am no more." Now, this post is a bit alarming for anyone who sees this post, because it's like, why is she saying this? You talking about the loss of her dad and then talking about the loss of her friend 44, which was with the DMW records, and now, you know, saying that people will be happy when she's no more. It's a bit worrying to think of Tiwa Savage putting out this post. No one knows what was going on in her head when she posted it, but here's what people are saying about this at the moment. Now, we have some comments that people have made regarding this. That's one from Bishizu70A. It says, she might be in the depression stage of the 5 stages of grief. The 5 stages being denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I hope her true friends rally around her. And then that's one from Toby Loba. Toby Loba says, I do not like this sound of hers. She's been through a lot and seems like she's depressed. God comfort her. Now that's one from NEB event. Says, some normal people are asking for an apology. Share normal sha. Now that's speaking Yoruba. And that's one from Zimmal. Zimmal says it's not up to that. People close to her should check on her ASAP. And that's one from Marlene. Marlene says, you all are laughing and mocking until the person is gone and you start showing fake love. Now that's what people are saying right now. And that's one from Wandizu. Wandizu says, when people start posting cryptic messages like this, trolls, please know when to stop. Exactly. I'm sure she has heard all your points, both good and bad. Now that's what's happening in the Nigerian entertainment scene and the Nigerian trend wave right now. People are, you know, of course, talking about the Tiwa Savage issue, and it calls for alarm when you see posts like that from a celebrity, especially in times like this. So that's what we have trending in Nigeria. So quickly, I'll go straight to out of the continent, where American comedian Dave Chappelle has been in the news for quite a while now, following his views on the transgender community, which he made during his Netflix special, The Closer. He has faced major backlash from the general public, where talks of him being cancelled has been made. Now, on Monday, which was yesterday, Dave Chappelle said that he is willing to meet with the transgender employees of the streaming platform Netflix, who have called for its platform to remove its comedy special, October comedy special, but he will only be met on his own terms without being summoned. Now let's take a look at this video that you're about to see.
To the transgender community, I am more than willing to give you an audience, but you will not summon me. I am not bending to anybody's demands. And if you want to meet with me, I'd be more than willing to, but I have some conditions. First of all, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end. You must come to a place of my choosing and a time of my choosing. And thirdly, you must admit that Hannah Gadsby is not funny.
Now that is what is trending outside the continent, not just outside the continent, even on the continent right now. LGBT issues, especially relating to Dave Chappelle as regards his comedy special. And we have some reactions people are making about this at the moment. That's one from Miles Komodo. Miles Komodo says, I just watched the Dave Chappelle special that has created all of this outrage. The I'm so offended crowd needs to be ignored. Of course, it's talking about the LGBT community. And that's how Miles feels about that at the moment. And we have more reactions from Zubi Music. Zubi Music says the Dave Chappelle outrage has lasted longer than the Afghanistan withdrawal outrage. And that sums up where we are as a species right now. And we also have a remark from Terrain Walker. Terrain says, I have a question. Why is nobody addressing Dave Chappelle's point about how some members of marginalized groups weaponize their whiteness and actively participate in anti-blackness, no matter how marginalized they may be? Now, that's Terrain, of course, talking about how people are tilting to just one side of Dave's outrage on a regular. And that's one from Jelani Cobb. Jelani says, I think we're at a point culturally where we are encouraged to assume the worst intentions about people. I think, especially on social media, people tear others down as a means of proving their own righteousness. I don't think either of these things are happening with Dave Chappelle. That's how he feels, and that's what is trending on Trend Rave today.
Quite a heavy one, Lizzie, from Dave Chappelle's story to Tiwa Savage and the comments here and there. Nice one. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. We could rightly say that it's a tough one too. Having
it
people.
is. I mean, living in this day and age in the country, anywhere you are in the world, it is a tough call at this point in time. But thank you so much, Elizabeth Musa, for always giving us the latest when it comes to trends across the continent and beyond.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, so there you have it, Trend Wave. We have coming up next will be sports, but right before we go into sports, it's no doubt that there's certain videos you see online that keeps you wondering and makes you say, what is happening, especially with the fact that ladies must learn how to keep fit, same with the guys. However, this is what we have on the video for today on What Was That? Engaging in the exercises that are recommended for you, you might as well want to try one of these on. Oluchi, what are these called, by the way?
Well, these are called body shapers.
Body shapers.
Yeah, another name can be Gedel. Yeah, but basically what this does is this repackages, if I can use the word. It gives you a fit appearance, a perception that you have a certain shape or belong to a certain size, and generally gives you a good outlook, because when she's done with the struggle, the appearance might be worth it. Might, like I said, that's the word here, might be worth it. But I know I can relate to this because a lot of us women do this, but if I do this as well, Joe, I mean, I have this body shape, I have them in different colors and sizes, but the only difference between me and the video you're saying is I do it myself. I don't need a second person to help me put it all together.
By the way, there's a new one for the men as well. It's actually out. The men do have theirs now. So if you're spotted on what we call literally in Africa, some parts of Africa, as one pack, you now have the body shapers for men as well. So you can keep your stomach and your body right.
Joe, this has its good side and its bad side. Medically, you're not supposed to wear this beyond a certain number of hours in a day. It also helps you with your food intake, based on the amount of intake, the amount of food you can take at a time. It also helps with regulations. But then some people have come out to say that wearing this all day long
is not safe.
Is actually not safe.
Anyway, we're not medical experts concerning this, and we're not going to recommend this for you at any point in time. But hey, that's just what was that? Will you do that? That's a big question we're asking. We're going to leave you with that, by the way. Well, let's take a look at the world of sports, what's happening. And we do have joining us for sports this morning, it's Tolu Shotade. Good morning to you, Tolu.
Hello, Joe. Great to be here today.
All right. So what's happening in the world of sports?
Oh, look, it's a lot. Arguably probably Africa's biggest league, if you do not count the South African PSL, which is obviously one of the leading lights on the African continent. It's the Egyptian Premier League. It kicked off yesterday, and like we know, Al Ahly are the most recognizable team in the Egyptian Premier League. They got Pitso Mosimane, the former Bafana coach. He's done a lot with them over the last couple of years. But the key thing heading into this season is the fact that they do not go into the season as champions. Instead, it's their bitter rival, Zamalek, who won the league last year, the first league title since 2015. So it's a very, very stacked up season. Zamalek, unfortunately, couldn't strengthen their team going into this season because they're currently under a FIFA transfer ban. So it's pretty much the same Zamalek team from last year. Will that be in their favor is also another big question about whether or not Zamalek will be better off because they didn't strengthen. But for Ali, there's a lot of pressure on Pitso Mosimane, like I said. They lost the Super Cup in Egypt last year, also lost the title to Zamalek. And there's a lot of outcry as to whether or not Pitso Mosimane should remain on the job. Remember, he spent just over a year at Ali, and he's won 2 CAF Champions League titles. He's won the Egyptian Premier League, won that in his first season with Zamalek, with Al Ahly. So it's almost the same of the same. It's still going to be Ali against Zamalek for the title. They're both not in action until much later. Ali are not playing until Wednesday. Zamalek start their campaign today in the Egyptian Premier League. But Patrice Carteron, a man who's masterminded that huge win for Zamalek last season, he's talked about the fact that the team still is very competitive. They might not have been able to strengthen, like I said, that FIFA ban looming over the team, the transfer ban looming over them. But again, like I say, Ali against Zamalek is still going to be that 2-horse race. There's the likes of Pyramids. They've got the very influential Ramadan Sobi, who I used to play in Europe, also an Egyptian international. He's probably one of the leading lights. Remember, they came into a bit of money, Pyramids, over the last couple of years. So they've been able to buy a lot of quality into the team, but that quality really hasn't seen them challenge for the title. But if we look at the fixtures to expect in the Egyptian Premier League going into today, Zamalek start their defense against NP later today. Ali are not in action until Wednesday. They go to Ismail, and that's a difficult ground to start up in Egypt. So we look ahead to that very important one. And of course, some stats about the Egyptian Premier League, just in case you didn't know, it's got a lot of Africans in that Egyptian Premier League. And if we could just get that statistic, the couple of Africans to look out for, the 16 Tunisians, 11 Ghanaians, 9 Nigerians, 6 Moroccans, Ivorians in there, Burkina, even Palestine have got players in the Egyptian Premier League, Cameroon, Uganda, Sudan, and Guinea. There are also European, North American, and South American players in Egypt. So that just tells you how strong this Egyptian Premier League is. So if you can watch it, find a way to watch it. It will display some of the best football on the African continent. And finally, in Sudan, where we do know that there's a military coup currently on the way, the Algerian women's team were supposed to play the second leg of their African Women's Cup of Nations qualifier against Sudan. They won the first leg 14-0. You heard right, 14-0. The second leg was supposed to take place in Sudan. The Algerian team already in Sudan for that game, but the happenings in the country has meant that that game doesn't look like it will hold. FIFA and of course CAF have said that they are looking to repatriate the team out of Sudan in the coming days. Whether or not that game will take place is another source of worry. You really don't think that Sudan are going to turn around a 14-0 deficit. I don't think that has ever happened, even in street soccer. So I think it's almost good to say that the game probably will not hold. Algeria probably will be handed qualification for the next round of the African Women's Cup of Nations.
Right, thank you so much, Tolu. I'm sure that they could join you later on at 10:30 a.m., right?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
All right.
All right there.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for sport. But before we wrap up, here are some programs that will be coming up later today on News Central. And we have news now at 9 a.m. West African time.
And at 1 p.m. you have Beyond the Continent, taking a look at stories outside of Africa.
And we'll be giving you African headlines by 2 p.m. West African time.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap, and that's how we bring the show to an end. On a Tuesday, by the way.
Yes, and this is the last full week in the month of October. But we'll be here again tomorrow by 8 a.m. West African time. On behalf of myself, Joe, production and technical team, we're wishing you a lovely day. See you tomorrow. Bye.